Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Nines breakdown video with myself and Sloth today. Going back to the Italian League, Sloth, Riccardo Calafiori. I don't know how to say it, but he's been fantastic for Bologna this season. Obviously, they finished fifth in the Serie A under Thiago Motta, who's subsequently gone to Juventus job now. But yeah, they finished fifth. So obviously, the top five got the Champions League spots for next season. So Calafiori was kind of one of the standout players in that Bologna side under Motta last season. And he's just attracting, huge interest across Europe now. And West Ham is one of those teams. So just looking at Calafiori right now, in terms of an overview, Slough, just break down who he is, his age, etc., as we put an overlay on for the viewers at home as well.
Yeah, so he's a very young centre back, and one of the things that's really sort of they put him to the forefront of the market is the fact that he's not only over 6 foot tall and physically very strong, he's excellent on the ball. And one of the things that Bologna have done really well this season, they were kind of a surprise package, I suppose, but they've looked really resolute at the back, and the way they've defended has not just been to throw themselves in front of things, try and play a very low block. They've defended really well. It's been a fact that they've quite often passed their way out of the defence, or they've looked for a long ball for an outlet from someone like Xerxes. So Calafiori's really excelled in the way that he's managed to blend those two things together. Mm-hmm. And 6'1" might not sound like it's massive for a centre back, but when he plays, he's so commanding and he is so sort of composed that he seems about 6'6". It's really impressive. And it's no surprise that he's one of the most sort of in demand centre backs in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's very clear what Lopetegui wants. It's probably likely that Aguerd's going to be leaving this summer. And the names we're being linked with, Max Kilman, left-footed centre-back. Obviously, Calafiori's the left-footed centre-back. Greaves we've been linked with as well. So we're looking to bring in that type of player. And, as you mentioned there, he's still only 22 years old, 6'1". His contract expires in 2027. But he is drawing interest from kind of across Europe. But, this is what's been stated by David Ornstein, who's very in the know when it comes to the journalism side. And he said that we have inquired about Calafiori and we've opened talks about signing him. But Bologna want to try and hold on to their centre-back if possible. I think they have more of a chance because they have Champions League football. But again, someone like Motta, their manager, if he's kind of packing up and leaving for the Juventus job anyway, I think if the right offer does come in for Calafiori, then he would be tempted to move. Might be difficult for us to make it happen, but we'll get onto that in the kind of second half of this video. In terms of his main strengths as a centre-back, Sloth, obviously we're looking for that ball-playing centre-back, but also someone who is physically commanding, physically dominant, can play in a slightly higher line than what we're used to playing under David Moyes. Now we're transitioning into the Lopetegui era. So let's start with his defending before we get into his possession stats, because, physically he's been an absolute monster in the Serie A this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned, he may be 6'1", but he's really made it like he's completely bossed it. And I think when you look at sort of the cliche monsters of Serie A in the past, he looks like he could easily step into those sort of shoes. And that may sound like big praise, but when you look at the numbers that are in front of us, the fact he's winning 1.8 tackles per 90 minutes, it's not only an example of just the fact that Bologna have been kind of very comfortable on the ball. That's not an outstanding number. It puts him in the high percentile, but it's not. It tells you a message that, they're not just sat back and it's all hands on deck at the Alamo kind of thing. He's winning 84% of those tackles as well. So he generally wins the challenges he has to make. And he's someone who's very composed on the ball as well. So what that's not telling you is he's not one to dive into challenges. And quite often he has to make one. It will be sort of a standing tackle, or he will time it to perfection and win the ball and take it away with him. So when we talk about the fact that he is almost the perfect blend of the physical side of things and then also the ability on the ball. It's not just the fact that he can ping the pass, it's how he carries himself and the fact he can progress the play, but also, you know, challenge a 6'3" centre forward, win the ball, and then play it out to the left back, look for a 1-2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely. I think we wouldn't have to worry about him playing in that slightly higher line because, as you mentioned, he's kind of excelled in different areas of the pitch when it comes to tackling, defending, in different key areas, whether it's the middle third, final third, low third. Like he is very versatile in that sense. And in terms of on the ball, I mean, when you look at these types of statistics stuff, it's pretty incredible, to be honest, for a centre back to be consistently in the upper percentiles across the board for both passing statistics on the left and also when looking at possession statistics as well. And, across the board, they're just so high in so many percentiles when you're comparing him to kind of the top 5 centre backs across Europe last season. Does this kind of mirror what you've seen when watching him last season for Bologna?
Definitely, and when you talk about, he's averaging over 1,000 yards worth of passes per 90 minutes. It gives you an idea of just how comfortable he is playing the ball, and they're successful passes as well. So when you look at the passes completed, he's way up in those higher percentiles, and it's the fact that you're not only getting centre back who, as I mentioned, I've banged on about it a little bit. He's physically very imposing. Just look at the passing stats there. It's quite honestly freakish for a centre back. It's a sign of how quickly the game's sort of moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna look to play the most adventurous pass. He's not always gonna look to ping it 40 or 50 yards. He's calculated with how he does it. And when you look at those metrics, the success rate with his passes, they're incredibly high.
100%. I completely agree. I think we are looking to transform our defense. There's no getting away from the fact that how many goals we conceded last season, is a record number in a Premier League campaign, worse than that Avram Grant season. So defensively, we were a mess last season, and it kind of stemmed from, the back line itself, the way we were playing, and also, the midfield and forwards as well, how we worked as a unit. We can't just put it all on the defense because there is kind of a system in place there. But in terms of what Calafiori can do, as you say, when he's so comfortable on the ball and he's so calculated with how he sees the game at such a young age, he's got massive potential. And if we don't snap him up, it'll be someone else that does. And, it's going to be a very difficult move to do, given that, he's got Champions League football and he's got a host of clubs that are going to be interested in him. But, he didn't join Bologna that long ago. He joined, what was it, last summer, for what, 4-5 million euros. It wasn't a big deal at all. Now, when you're looking at what his value would be, probably around 30 to 35 million euros. That's what it's kind of averaged out on the market value. Might cost a little bit more because obviously Bologna are going to place a higher price tag on him. But in terms of this deal, Sloth, what do you think the chances of it happening are, and how much do you think it would take to get this over the line if West Ham were to secure his signature this summer?
I know there is the quote from Calafiori himself from a year or so ago, where he says about how West Ham are a Premier League side that he really likes. I'm going to dash a few hopes here because I think the chances of us signing him are incredibly small. As I mentioned, he's someone who will be on a lot of clubs' radars, but will be on the top clubs' radars. Yeah. And I think if we even agreed a fee, say less than Kilman, or the rumoured fee for him, I think that's still really good value for what you're seeing from him. And I wouldn't be surprised if another top team then just decided, actually, you know what, we really like him, so we're going to move in as well. Yeah. And I think the difficulty in this is, had we got some form of European football, maybe it would have been a bit more realistic in some degree. I still think it would have been a long shot, but I just can't see him leaving Bologna where he's settled and, playing really well. He seems very happy there. If you've seen any of the interviews he's done with Serie A, it's the fact that I think if he is going to leave, it's probably going to be for a top club. And I can't really see that being us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to pull off. And if Steiden and co do pull it off, I mean, it's a massive coup. But yeah, I think with the likes of even Juventus interested, Liverpool, there's some big clubs involved and want to kind of sign him this summer. So it's going to be an uphill battle to do it. But if we were to pull this off for, say, the rumored around 35 to 40 million that it would take, what would you rate this signing out of 10?
I think it's a 9 out of 10 easily. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is just because I don't think it will happen. And I think he would work so well in our system where we've mentioned, Lopetegui tends to play a bit more possession based and he's so comfortable on the ball. I think him, Emerson, potentially Paqueta in the middle, that is the sort of triangles that would see us get really good results, just creating space down that left-hand side. But I just can't see it, to be honest with you. I do think he is one of the standout defenders over the past sort of 12 months. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, if he, as I mentioned, if we were to agree a fee, I can see other clubs coming in and just nipping in there before us.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And as you say, that the quote about him, saying that he'd like to join or, likes West Ham as a club, that was probably after we beat Sevilla or something, like when we were on the map in Europe. And now it's not really quite the same thing a couple of years down the line. But, never say never. I think I agree. I think it would be an absolutely amazing signing. If you're comparing this to, say, a Kilman, it's night and day for me. You go all out for this type of signing. This is building for the future as well. Still only 22 years old, which is incredible given how he plays on the pitch. So yeah, we're massively behind this if we can get this done this summer. Let us know in the comments what you think of the link. Do you think it's a little bit too unrealistic, or are we kind of shooting for the stars and maybe getting one at the end of the day? Who knows? Yeah, leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the video as well if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here and stuff. Until the next one.
Come on, you wines.